dignitaries of the dais and off the dais. Well, my predecessors have done a good job for me. They have covered a lot of things, Dr. The speakers, covering technological parts and policy parts. And the inaugural program was so inspiring and so insightful for me, because when we talk about the coastal communities and coastal fishermen problems, I think the issues were so discussed. Definitely, because being from a fisheries university, many of the issues which the senior officers and leaders from the Navy, Armed Forces, Coast Guard, they brought to our knowledge. I think they are mind-boggling. And they have to be addressed. They have to be addressed on priority, I think. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I could see that although this seminar is on coastal communities and problems, but the focus has been mainly on fisheries. I could sense this. So fisheries is a very important aspect. And the government of the day, I think in 2015 itself, realized this importance of fisheries, and that's how that we came out with the program of Blue Revolution, a very comprehensive program in 2015, where the objective was to increase India's fish production from, say, 10 million metric tons to 20 million metric tons in next 5 years, from 2015 to 2020, next year. A very comprehensive scheme, I said, an umbrella scheme, which includes inland fisheries, marine fisheries, post-harvest technology, fish processing, and policy issues, and capacity building, training, and the welfare of the fishermen and fisheries communities. It's a very important component of this scheme, and this is being operated through an organization known as National Fisheries Development Board in Hyderabad, under the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying. Well, we are very happy that the government has created a separate department, a separate ministry, but maybe in future we would suggest that this department has to be a department of fisheries and fishermen welfare, because fishermen constitute such an important segment of fisheries, like the agriculture and farmers welfare. So the department should be fisheries and fishermen welfare, and a separate ministry for fisheries, bifurcating veterinary and health science separately. That should be a future proposal. I think you can go through this seminar. We are now producing something around 12 million tons fish in this country, and we are the second largest producer of fish in the world. China is the first, but you see the difference. China is producing something around 60 million metric tons. So this gap is a huge gap, and how we should increase our production. So there are targets to make it to, say, 20 million metric tons. And some of the issues which Dr. Vartak has mentioned is, of course, a technological revolution. There are several modern technologies, both in the inland sector and marine, especially with regard to aquaculture, that we can enhance our production as well as productivity. But the focus of the government is also to enhance the income of the farmers or income of the fishermen. They have to get profits, they have to get money on their business. And several people in the morning shared that the income of the fishermen or the farmers is decreasing. In the sea, when we talk to fishermen in the coastal villages, sometimes they are scared whether they will get fish 20 years down the line. Because sustainability is an issue. Many of the species have been, become, depleted stocks. Several issues, sustainability issues, management issues, governance issues. I think we know them, and then they have to be addressed by the government, central government, and state governments. And now we have a marine fisheries in place in this country, and the marine fisheries addresses several issues of the fishermen communities of the coastal states. Friends, I would also like to share with students who are sitting here, that we have something around 3,000 species of fish in this country, and about 500 species for marine sector, the inland sector, the cold water. We have all kinds of resources ecosystems, and about 300 exotic species also, which are cultured in this country now. So the huge diversity of germplasm. But we are culturing only few species. That's how that we are talking about diversification. And diversification both in the inland sector and in the marine sector. The inland aquaculture has progressed well over the last couple of years. Reservoir case farming and pond culture, composite farming. But on the coast, in the sea case farming is still in its infancy. One of the organizations of the ICR, the Central Marine Fishery Research Institute in Kochi, they have initiated a case farming in all along the coast. But they have, I said, on an experimental stage. So this provides our coastline, more 8,000 kilometers of the coastline, provides enormous potential for sea case farming, where the focus is now that our youth from the fishermen communities, the local coastal communities, cooperatives should come forward and make use of the policies of the Government of India, where they have a lot of subsidies for these programs of sea case farming and mariculture. The only constraint is presently the number of species which we need to culture in the sea. There are only few, but the institutions are working. They are doing research and on several species, and maybe in years to come, they'll come out with several new species and provide the seed, required seed to these coming entrepreneurs. I think that's how I said we are only scientists, so we know many of the scientific problems and issues, but on the other side, the people who really live in the sea, they have those problems, the difficulties they have. So the second point which one of the previous speakers also touched about, the ornamental fisheries. I said this is another huge potential in this country. We have only about 1% of the ornamental fish trade globally. And there are 400 species of ornamental species, both in freshwater and marine. A country like Indonesia has about 100,000 hectares of land or water area culturing ornamental species. Giving to Singapore, where there is a value addition, good packaging, and Singapore exports. It's one of the major exporting country with no resource, no fish, but a major export hub. So I think this is another potential for entrepreneurship development, which Dr. Vartak mentioned. I think this is very important. Seaweed farming, all along the coastal states, enormous potential for seaweed farming. We have not made use of this resource in this country. Friends, I will now come to education. I think this is very important for our coastal families. As I said in the morning, there are 25 fisheries colleges in the country. There are many colleges in Maharashtra, two in Nagpur, one in Ratnagiri, we have in Ahmedabad, Navsari, and there are 25. And there are 3 universities, one university in Mumbai itself, where we conduct a 4 years fisheries professional course, a Bachelor of Fishery Science, and then a Master's in Fishery Science, then a PhD in Fishery Science. Fishery Science is not one discipline. Fishery Science has got about a dozen disciplines. All modern disciplines you can think of, you have in Fishery Science. And fisheries graduates or postgraduates or our doctoral students are not only for fisheries sector. Sometimes they go to foreign countries and they work in medical schools, because fish is used as a model, a scientific model nowadays for experimentation in medical colleges, for experiments. So they have enormous potential for fisheries graduates and postgraduates. In addition to becoming entrepreneurs in the country, there are potentials also to go abroad and get their future research career. Now I'm presently also attached to NABARD. We have a program under NABARD as a chair professor, where we need to address the west coast, especially the fisheries development in the Maharashtra. Because Maharashtra has huge potential for fisheries, marine fishery development. Especially I talk about mariculture and case farming in Ratnagiri and Sindhudurga areas, So we are working to locate those sites and involve the local fishing communities, make some fishermen producer companies, and see how best they can be supported by NABARD. I think NABARD provides soft loan. There is something like a fisheries infrastructure development fund for 7,000 crores. Huge money with NABARD for this particular sector. I think there's a huge potential, and probably we need to make use of these schemes of the Government of India, and we'll have to work with our fishermen communities, coastal communities, to help them in both in terms of their education and also in terms of the socio-economic issues which many of the speakers raised in the morning. I think we are also entering into the age of, or the decade of, UN decade of oceans. I think from 2021 to 2030 we have the decade of the oceans. So the focus will definitely remain on the oceans and on the coastal communities. Friends, with this, I once again thank the organizers for taking such a wonderful subject, and I salute the fishermen, the coastal communities, and also the people who are from the armed forces, the Navy, and the Coast Guard, and all who have really done such a hard work in safeguarding their life and safeguarding this country. Thank you very much.